batting team during the power play overs.
Low ball.
Catch. Yes.
Free hit coming up. That's a good opportunity to grab for the batting unit. He opens up his account in style with a boundary. He had his chance and muffed it. No boundaries here, I'm afraid. He dives wildly back to the crease. Is he out? Big shout again from the bowling team. Umpire, not out. Off the mark with a cracking shot. Oh, over it goes. He has to be lightning on this one if he's going to be safe. A very good effort between the wickets. That ball went like a rocket to the fence. That's in the slot, and it's been put away for 6. What a shot. The timing was sublime. He's given the ball some French leave from the pitch. Too bad the bowler didn't approve. That's expensive. That'll cost them today. Spinners come into play. Bang! That ball races away to the boundary. And that's 4. Using his feet superbly. What a lovely shot. That's 2 boundaries in quick succession. Can he make it a triple? Well, these two are known for their entertainment. This partnership now starting to build. Seems to me he's struggling to get into a good rhythm in this stint. Batting team during the power play overs.
No ball. Catch. Yes.
Free hit coming up. That's a good opportunity to grab for the batting unit. He opens up his account in style with a boundary. He had his chance and muffed it. No boundaries here, I'm afraid. He dives wildly back to the crease. Is he out? Big shout again from the bowling team. Umpire, not out. Off the mark with a cracking shot. Oh, over it goes. He has to be lightning on this one if he's going to be safe.
लेकिन आगे बहुत कुछ भी हो सकता है।
जो होगा सो होगा। अगर कल सब कुछ हमारे प्लान के हिसाब से हुआ तो ठीक है। Have a prosperous marriage.
Off the boundary, that's brilliant. Don't tell me another England sub-fielder has done it again with Ricky Ponting on commentary.
I'll tell you what, this could be out. Smith actually stumbled on his turn. Turned back for two and put in a bit of a stumble step, and it took him a long time to get going. It was a big dive. Has he made his ground?
Nice and slow, please. Okay, can you rock the ball again? Yes, please. I need another angle for this. The collection is clean. Yep. Yeah. Can I have a switching here, please? Yeah, I can see the base are off. Can I have switching, please? Once. Yeah. frame, next frame. Next frame. Go back, go back, go back. Go back. Yeah, frame by frame, please. Yeah. Next frame. Go back one frame, go back one frame, go back one frame, go back one frame. The the smaller spigot is still on top of the stumps. Yeah, keep it going, keep it going. Yes. Keep it going. Next frame. Come back, come back, come back, come back. Yes, freeze it. Go frame by frame, please. Yes. The smaller spigot is still on top of the stump. Next frame. Next frame. Next frame. Okay. The smaller spigot is still on top. Next frame. Yeah. Next frame. One frame back. One frame back. One frame back. Yeah. Next frame. I can see the smaller spigot still on top of the stump. Go back. Next frame, please. Next frame. Yeah. Next frame. Again, next frame. Yes. Next frame. Still on top of the stump. Yeah. Bale is still on top of the stump. Next frame. Yeah. Next frame. Yes. The bat is grounded inside now. The bat is grounded inside. Okay. I am ready with my decision for the big screen.
Well, the crowd not happy. Steve Smith had walked halfway back to the dressing room, but it was a really, really tough decision for Nitin Menon. Really tough, because Johnny Bairstow had made contact with the stumps prior to getting the ball in his hands, and the bail, the off-stump bail, had jumped out of its groove. Now, what Nitin Menon had to decide, as we see the running here from Smith, he always wanted two. He has a little bit of a stumble. It looked like he was struggling. And had Bairstow taken that cleanly and not nudged the bails off, that would have been out. But Johnny Bairstow makes contact with that bail and it jumps out of the groove before he had the ball in his hand. And that was the decision that Nitin Menon had to make. He had to decide whether both grooves of that bail were out of both. The bail was out of both grooves before he then had the ball in his hand and made contact. And in the end, he made the decision that that was the case, and therefore Steve Smith survives. Brilliant fielding from George Elam. He almost rode himself into Ashes folklore. He also almost gave Ricky Ponting a thrombosis up here. But Steve Smith survives.
Well, he wants to again here, Steve Smith. I think he'll say no this time. Well, you said when he came off the boundary, you said, geez, he's quick. And he was quick. He got to it quick and got rid of it quick. There's a few things to take into consideration, Butch, with that decision. There were a lot of things he had to look at there. Was it the fact that Johnny had bumped the stump and the bail had started to move out? Or was it that the bail was still in the second groove by the time that Smith had made his ground? So there was lots to look at. Looks to me, thankfully, he's come up with the right decision.
Well, thankfully for me anyway, I'm wearing very light coloured trousers. I didn't want you to explode if the decision had gone the other way. Well, thankfully for me anyway, I'm wearing very light coloured trousers. I didn't want you to explode. What a moment in the test. Very light coloured trousers. I didn't want you to explode. The decision had gone the other way. Well, thankfully for me anyway, I'm wearing very light coloured trousers. I didn't want you to explode. In the test, very light coloured trousers. Johnny makes contact with the stumps. The bail jumps out and goes the other way. Thankfully for me anyway, I'm wearing very light coloured trousers. I didn't want you to explode. In the test, very light coloured trousers. Or not, it was out before he made contact with the stumps with the ball in his hand. Big moment in a series that has been full of big moments. 198 for 7.
Well, with everything that's going on, Harry Brooks can have another one. And that, to me, looks like his best wicket-taking ball. The one that he fires down the leg side looking for a catch behind or a stumping.
Well, I think that's the one he got Kane Williamson out with. Came off the face of the bat into the hands of, would have been Ben Foakes, wouldn't it? Here we go again. Now, we're watching this over and over again simply because Ricky Ponting is now thinking that the bail is out of the groove and that he's short after Johnny Bairstow has made contact with the stumps with the ball in his hand. Very, very difficult decision for the third umpire. I mean, the moral of the story, I suppose, is that don't knock the bails off before you got the ball in your hand.
And the other moral of the story is don't take on the substitute fielder that you don't know anything about. He's just covered 100 in about 8.5 seconds. Well, Mark Butcher's still giggling away here, hoping more than anything in the world that actually had been out. So he could even give me a bit more of a ribbing than what I've received over the last 18 years.
Mate, I mean, you got pelted with... We had Grapegate yesterday. I must admit that, you know, the Ashes has always had that, you know, the ribbing between the Ponds and the Aussies, and you get pelters as an Englishman in Australia on tour and vice versa. But I have felt that at times during the course of this series some of the behaviour has been beyond the pale, and you getting pelted by with grapes before the end of the show last night was the epitome of that, I'm afraid, and I apologise on behalf of my fellow countrymen.
It wouldn't have been so bad if they hadn't exploded on impact. Would have been able to pick them up and eat them, but they bounced off the cart, bounced off high on my left thigh. And I've just found out earlier on today that it could have been a bit of payback for a former Surrey and England great in Graham Thorpe, who was apparently pelted with golf balls at Bay 13 at the MCG.
There you go, that's a little bit more extreme, and any apologies you can come up with would be gratefully accepted.
Well, the bottom line with it, though, is he got 6 brand new balls to go and play with at the end of the Test match. 201 for 7.
Right, one over to go before the new ball. Harry Brooks' fun, you would imagine, is over. He has bowled 3 overs, none for 7. Joe Root looks as though he will take the final over with this old ball. We've had the law books out and everything up here in the commentary box just to make sure that we've got the sequencing and the thought process right on that run out. Do we have it right?
Geez, it might depend what dressing room you sit in. It's one of those ones, I think. If you're in the England room, you're looking at every possible way that bail is just out of that middle groove. If you're in the Australian room looking at it saying, oh no, I reckon that middle part of that bail is still just sitting on the top of the stump. But it sounded like the third umpire was very definitive in his decision. Tough one for him, tough one for everyone, and it will be debated for a long time.
Oh, what ball, Joey?
There's another look at it there. You can see the bails, they do sort of bounce up, but are they going to go back down in the groove again? Could even be one of those ones where the actual decision might even just be completely between frames of where the bat is.
Very good, Joe.
You hate to say it, but it's an error by the keeper, isn't it? Steve Smith, on seeing it the first time, thought, well, I'm gone here. I'm short on the ground. And he realises that There was contact made before the ball was in Bairstow's gloves and decides to stick around. And now he has the chance to take advantage of a reprieve. 80 overs up. Australia 82 behind, Smith 46, Cummins 9, partnership 16, 201 for 7. David Mills with the second new ball. That would have been chosen probably by Jimmy Anderson prior to today's play today. And you would imagine that England will take it straight away. Who are you giving it to, Ricky?
I'd be Broad and Wokes, to be honest. I think they've looked, I think in the last couple of test matches, looked the best. I don't think that's going to happen now, though, because Wokes has just bowled a spell. It's probably going to be Broad and Anderson. And to be fair, Anderson's looked better today. He would have had a good long think overnight. Probably had a look at some video footage of himself, and just for that reinforcement of the things that you do and the little things that have made you successful through your career. It looked like he'd adjusted things this morning with his grip. Went from sort of that split finger grip on the back of the ball last night, looking for some wobble seam, to closing his fingers together down the back of the seam today. Yes, maybe getting a bit more wrist snap on the ball, therefore putting some more backspin on the ball, creating that little bit of swing that we did see. It's right the way through this series. Stuart Broad, with a new ball or with the old ball, has managed to find something. Terrific spell after lunch today. Trap Khawaja plumb in front in the first over after the break. Travis Head shortly after with a nice delivery that angled in and left the left-hander.
Opportunity for Australia as well. Slightly newer ball, a little bit harder. Might be a situation here for Pat Cummins to have a little bit of a go. Try to put England off their length, not allow them to just lock into where they've been for most of the day, all of the day.
The interesting thing here with this, Butch, is you wouldn't expect that this brand new ball would do any more in the air or off the wicket than we've seen with the old one. But what it will do is it'll come off the bat better. A lot harder. You said, a couple of overs ago, are we missing something in this surface? Is it slowed down? Has it lost a bit of life? Harder to score. It'd be easy to score now. So even someone with the genius of Steve Smith, he's been out there for 95 balls. He's only hit the 3 boundaries as well. So that you have to give a lot of credit to England. It's not just about Australia's batting intent, because what we've seen with Steve Smith right through his career, generally in the first part of his innings, he does score quite freely. Gets off to a bit of a fly, hits boundaries early on, then he settles back in, almost starts in 4th gear and works back through the gears.
Yeah, I mentioned you on commentary prior to the tea break, and that the great trademark of your batting was that bowlers found it very difficult to find a length to you, because you very strong straight down the ground with that on drive. They got a little bit too full, but it only had to be a fraction shorter than that and you'd be able to pull them off the top of the stumps. Now, Australia throughout almost the course of the day have not been able to pull England off the top of the stumps, which is so un-Australian. And that's partly because England's line of length has been so immaculate, but also because of the mindset of just hanging in there by Australia.
And to make that point of yours a little bit stronger, even talking to the Australian batsmen this morning that had actually batted yesterday, they said it was the bounciest wicket they played on in the series, and if anything, it felt more like batting at home. So when you think about that, that's more of a reason why they should be able to score freer off the back foot. They talked about trusting the bounce, they talked about being able to leave the ball on length. And one thing, and we talked about this yesterday, one thing that we don't see in the modern game much anymore is a regulation back foot cover drive. How often you just don't see it, a batsman will go back on a 4th stump sort of line ball and punch it through the covers. It's not there. That also throws the bowler off his length.
Oh, shot. That is fabulous from Steve Smith. That's what you come to expect from the former Australian captain. Brings up his 50. Strike rate of just over 50, 51. And Australia's hopes of a lead or parity very much rest on his shoulders.
Well, he's absolutely crunched that. It was very, very full, and he said he launches into those drives. It's exactly what he did there, and it found the middle of the bat and rocketed across the outfield to that long-on boundary. Watch him go at this. Bang.
We'll have some more there. We'll have some more there. Just punched it down the ground. Really controlled that time. Jimmy Anderson skates after it. May have kept it in. Australia have run 3. They'll check to see if it's 4. Steve Smith goes to 38.50s to go with 3200s. Australia trail by 74. That ball has just hit the hand, the trail hand of Jimmy Anderson while his body is on the line. Yeah, it does. 4. Just watch here. Anderson does well. That flicks the ball back. His body is now on the boundary rope, and it flicks over the trailing hand, the right hand. So that'll be 4 to Steve Smith.
Well, it's been a day all about bails. Stuart Broad swapping bails around. Johnny Bairstow dislodging, not dislodging bails. And in amongst all that, the new ball's been taken. It's Broad and Anderson, as we've spoken about for a decade plus of cricket. And just to top it all off, Steve Smith now averages 100 at the Oval.
As good as Steve Harmison at the Oval. He averages 131.
Well, you've got those rose-coloured glasses on, Nas. What do you think about the run-out? That wasn't a run-out?
I'm glad I wasn't on commentary. What I liked most about the run-out was Mark Butcher getting so excited that a former Australian captain was being run out by a 12th-man fielder with Ricky sat next to him. I thought it was a nightmare for the third umpire, and I think he got it right. He had to see if both grooves were out, he had to see what Bairstow had done. I think he got it right, but it was a nightmare.
It's the beauty of this wonderful game too, isn't it, that we've seen so much cricket across our lives, and yet still this is something that we've never really come across before. Johnny Bairstow, first and foremost, was dislodging that bail. Don't worry, Ben, we're still confused ourselves. We'll talk you through it. Hopefully it'll make a little bit more sense by the end of the day's play.
But one thing we haven't mentioned much is Steve Smith diving in.